All right, looks like we're live. Welcome back to the Surges of Income podcast. I've got two really special guests today, and we're going to dive deep into what does business growth look like after an acquisition, as well as maybe while we're looking at businesses to acquire, what should we be paying attention to that can give us indicators if this business is going to be easy or harder to grow and scale and make more profitable post-acquisition. But Surges of Income podcast, if it's your first time ever being here with us, let me explain briefly about Surges of Income and why this podcast is in existence. So Surges of Income is a lot of money coming in all at one time, completely separate from your normal income that's being allocated towards your living expenses and your bills. And that's really getting hit hard by inflation and cost of living increases constantly. We talk about surges of income, money coming in quickly that can go directly towards your investments, directly towards growing your net worth. And that usually comes in one of four different ways. And that's what we made this podcast to talk about specifically. So that's a sale of a business, sale of a real estate property, business profit distributions, or learning how to do live events or product launches so you can make lots of money all at one time. And today we're going to be talking about business acquisitions and really how to generate more profits using business. And that's why I have Stef and Christina here today. They're a part of our Dealmaker Protege program, with my partnership with Carl Allen at Dealmaker Wealth Society. And I'm just so honored to have you on. So why don't you just give us a brief introduction of who you are, what kind of deals you're working on? And I already know you, of course, but tell the audience.
Awesome. Stef, well, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Christina and I are both cleaning business owners, residential cleaning business owners. There was a lot of attraction to, hey, well, if we can grow our net worth by acquiring other businesses, in addition to essentially what you said, in addition to what we already have coming in, then why not? We're already entrepreneurial minded, driven, and just being within a group of people who are like-minded, and it will allow us to all continue to propel ourselves forward and up. So we're kind of looking, we've partnered together with a few other people, and we're looking to stay in both residential and commercial cleaning spaces, as well as looking at some other home services that could be bolted on.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that, Christina?
I think Stef covered everything. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, I know you pretty well. We were hanging out in Vegas at our last meetup last month, and I got to know you even better. But even before we just started this broadcast, we were just catching up, and you all have quite a few deals in the pipeline, which is quite impressive, especially since you haven't been focused on this for very long. Several looks like they may be getting close to closing. And I guess to help guide me today on how I can help mentor you here on this whole process, can you kind of give me a quick rundown, whatever you're comfortable saying to the world here, about maybe what you're working on currently, and then how I can help the most?
So I think the biggest obstacle after acquisition is the marketing aspect of it. So just about every single business that we have looked at since January has little or no marketing aspect to it. And so, we'd really like to understand better how to optimize for growth in the first 90 days to a year, how to really pick out like what things to look for when we're looking at different businesses that might help speed that process up after acquisition.
Perfect.
And I think the biggest factor is most of the businesses that we're looking at do top line revenue of between $800 and $5.8 million. So we found it, one that we're pursuing right now is in that $5 million range. And it's pretty incredible that a business has gotten to that top line growth without any real marketing budget.
Yeah, makes sense. So for anybody watching this that doesn't really understand much about business acquisition or even customer acquisition for businesses, I think it's really interesting how a lot of people think that people grow without marketing, because as much as they don't have maybe outbound marketing and paid advertisements and things like that, there is some level of marketing that had to go into growing that business. So I think identifying a little bit more about what they've done to acquire a customer during your conversations with them, rather than what do you do for marketing? That's one of the questions. Like if you could see, I'll even turn around so you can see it. we've been doing a lot of storyboarding, and I do a lot of sales scripting. And one of the questions we're very focused on asking now, instead of like, what are you doing for marketing, is tell me how you acquire customers. So one of the things I'd encourage you to start maybe changing your positioning and your questions with sellers is to find out, what are you doing to acquire new customers or new clients, rather than what are you doing for marketing? Because sometimes the maybe less aware, I guess the best word may be ignorant, not in a negative way, just doesn't know what they don't know. They don't know that they're doing some form of marketing, because even if they have some sort of campaign they've been running to get more referrals from customers, that's still technically marketing, right? But I think for what we're talking about here is, what can you really put, how can you push down the gas pedal and make it go faster? And that's really going to be more like paid advertisement. But I'd like to dive into that a little bit for sure. And then other thing is post-acquisition, kind of having a game plan already set in stone of what you do every time you acquire a business, especially if it's in your lane in the commercial cleaning company. That's going to be very beneficial. So we can go through that in detail here today. Any other questions specifically? I'm just kind of taking some notes here on how I can best serve you today and serve the audience.
I think you talked about, reframing the question and asking the right questions, which, we've been on this journey to learn to what questions are the right ones to ask. But what are some other potential look fors?
Sure.
And just tying back to it, we've seen, organic growth in some of these businesses, or the owner is boots to the ground going out and drumming up new business. So there's not necessarily like paid marketing and advertising. And then some just have such a great customer service aspect of things that they're getting organic referrals. So
yeah, makes sense.
Maybe how do we continue to capitalize on that?
Absolutely. So let's start with the first part. So the first part is, maybe when you're having these conversations, you're looking at deals, maybe you already have offers out and you're just kind of doing your due diligence, is what other questions could you be asking? I have quite a few, obviously. I'm looking off to the side here at my whiteboard, but I mean, besides, and anybody watching this, if inside of our Dealmaker Protege program and other trainings, we have lots of lists of seller questions, right? And I think a lot of this should be more of a framework rather than a script, rather than an exact question to ask, but almost have the ability to deviate and ask a question that may be more applicable to the scenario of the seller you're talking to. I like to ask specifically, like I said, not about what they're doing for marketing, but what are they doing to acquire customers? And then the second level is always asking for them to elaborate upon that. Like, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. Or, hey, can you expand upon that a little bit? And let them really read between the lines and tell you exactly what they really mean, rather than a surface level answer. And then if you're going to ask about marketing, ask about more specific questions. Like, are you doing any type of paid advertisement? Are you, say it wasn't just commercial, maybe it was residential as well. Are you advertising on Angie or Home Advisor? Tell me, of the new clients you're getting, how many of them come from referrals versus some sort of outbound sales effort, right? Because we may be thinking marketing, but they may have a salesperson that they just don't even consider them marketing. It's just something the salesperson's doing, right? So I would get a little bit more specific about that, because from what you're trying to do, based off everything we teach in Protege, is around transfer of value, right? So how much a business is worth, how much you're able to pay for it, a lot of that comes down to the transfer of value. You're trying to look for things in those conversations where is the relationships that are causing the referrals and the growth of the business, is it really relying on that one person or the key person in the business or the seller? Or is that going to be something that's already a process or a system that you guys can replicate? You're also looking for, you have your own process that's worked inside your businesses. You're looking to see what would have to be true for my process and my systems to work in this business, right? You're looking for gaps. You're looking for things that maybe would block your process, right? So you have processes inside your businesses for talent acquisition. We've talked about that. You probably have processes for the ways that you already acquire new commercial cleaning customers. So one of the things I do when I'm looking at a business is I already have all of my resources. I have my people. I have my tactics for customer acquisition. I have all the different resources that I can deploy inside of a business when I acquire it. So what I'm looking for when I'm asking questions is my system going to work in this business that I'm going to buy? Because that way you're not really thrashing. You're kind of doing the same thing every day. You're just plugging in what you already do in this new business. So that's some of the questions I would be asking. So before I go into talking about my methods and what I'd recommend for acquiring new clients post-acquisition, can you tell us a little bit about inside your current businesses, what are you doing to acquire new commercial cleaning clients? Either one of you. All right. Don't fight over the microphone, okay?
So I know that Steph and I both have a funnel set up for lead generation. So that's one way that we acquire customers is through a landing page. They fill out a form, and then based off how we have it set up, we either call them back or we set an appointment on the calendar and then we call them. Referrals are my biggest way that I get customers. Okay. So those are my two main ways that I get new business.
Okay. And then around the referrals, do you have a system for that?
I do. It could be a lot better than what I have, but I do have a system for that.
Okay. So the next question is, how easy is that system to convert it into somebody else's business? Could you teach that system?
I think it would be very easy. Yes.
Okay. So when we talk about post-acquisition marketing strategies, plugging in your referral system has got to be one of your main focuses right there. So have you tested your referral system outside your own business? Have you taught it to somebody else, maybe a colleague or somebody else that owns a cleaning company, let them implement it and watch it work?
I have not. Okay. So
you may want to do that.
But we both use effectively the same system, and we're in different cities. So it's definitely
it's been proven more than once though.
Correct.
Perfect. With the lead generation funnel, is that like Facebook ads or what are you using?
We have Facebook.
I don't do.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Now we're fighting over the microphone.
I know. So I don't have paid ads going at the moment, but I do have daily posts that go to Facebook and Instagram and Google My Business page. And those seem to get a lot of traffic and eyes on them. They post to different groups in Facebook that are, local to the areas that we serve. And so that's where I get a lot of my calls come from.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
then Steph?
I was going to say, I'm also in the same boat as Christina. Ironically, my business was paying a significant amount of money for Google and Facebook ads that either they just weren't generating the right type of lead, we weren't attracting the right type of clientele or potential clientele, or we weren't speaking to the appropriate pain points. And that was definitely part of the reason why we wanted to take this opportunity to talk to you about the sales and marketing aspect of things. Because there's a lot of other things that we have in place that we know are working and that are efficient. Everything is constantly growing and improving and changing. But the sales and marketing piece, as far as paid ads and generating leads that way, it's just such a moving target for both of us that it can get a little bit frustrating. And it's, to be honest, not something that we necessarily want to learn completely in depth. But if we know certain look-fors, then we can bring in the appropriate people or work with the appropriate people to help us with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes sense. All right, cool. Well, this is good for me to have a framework so I can help you specifically. And then there's going to be people watching this over the years that are going to have very similar scenarios and businesses and things. So we're going to make sure that we're going to tailor this in a way where everyone can learn. So in general, when I look at marketing, there's so many different ways to win. And that's where you really create a really strong business. So for me, one of the things that I really focus on in business that makes me not bulletproof, but really makes it so the business is consistent and strong and it's hard to shake it. Market shifts don't hurt this business as much, is when I create lots of redundancy, right? So redundancy can be something that you deploy in lots of different parts of your business. It can be with your key employees, making sure that you're letting your systems and your processes shine where the right person, no matter who it is, can run it. It's not more, revolving around the person itself. There's redundancy in your customer acquisition strategies. There's redundancy in the way that you are retaining your customers. There's all types of ways that you want to build redundancy in your business. I call it the four-legged stool model, right? Where we build a business where we have so many different ways that we win. We have customers coming in from so many different channels, where if one channel automatically gets cut off, that it won't tank your new business acquisition funnels, right? So imagine if all your eggs were in one basket, all of your leads came in something like Google Ads or like an Angie or Home Advisor. Say you were doing more residential cleaning, and then all of a sudden that account gets banned on Google, or Angie or Home Advisor changes their algorithm and you're no longer effective, or they triple their prices, and then you no longer can get leads from that source. Like that can take you out. So what I would recommend starting with is, number one, you need to kind of systematize what you're already doing and kind of package it in a way where it can be deployed in a new market. That's step one, because if you go out and acquire other businesses that are like yours, you're going to want to have something that's plug and play, and it's more around process rather than people, where you can put the right person in play and will work. So things that I heard, one is you each have a referral system, kind of the same system that should work pretty well. That's probably revolving around getting in front of your clients and asking for the referral at the right moment, or maybe some sort of high touch campaign that you're sending out to people asking for referrals. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you doing?
It's a workflow post job completion.
Post job completion. Okay. Is it on the first job or other times?
The first, and then every 3 and 6 months after that.
Is it through email? Is it through snail mail? Is it through email?
Email.
Okay.
And then there's also a text component to it as well.
And are you using like a special software for that?
Yeah, through our CRM.
Okay. Perfect. So you have a system for that. What I don't hear is a system for acquisition through Facebook, Instagram, and Google My Business. So you have sort of a system, but what you have currently has to have certain parameters in place to be effective. Like you're not going to open up a brand new Facebook page and Instagram with no friends, no followers, without leveraging your personal page and be able to make that system work, right? That's what it sounds like. So I would look at, how can we not stop doing that, but how can we systematize that and make that into a process that any business can follow, and not to give it away to anybody, but only to use in your own companies, right? So I would probably look at a couple different things. Organic growth, because that's really organic when you're using social media without using paid. It's called organic. That is not scalable at any level. There's not one thing you can do. You can't flip a light switch on and just have as many leads as you possibly need. It's something that you've built up over time, know, like, trust, credibility, a positioning in the community, things like that. So not saying don't do that, but you would want to have some sort of plan in place that shows a business that doesn't have existing assets how to get prepared for that. So create the business page, create the IG account, and then maybe have some sort of VA that is doing some outreach and creating the friend request for you. It's just not super scalable. So when you're trying to translate what you're doing now with your kind of sunk costs that you've already put into building those accounts up, that's going to be hard to translate. And if the business you're buying doesn't have all those assets, and then your personal page doesn't have a presence in the community in a certain geographic market, it's not going to work very well. So what I would say is probably put that to the side for a second, because that's not going to be, even though that's probably your strongest strategy you have now, it's not going to work in every market. So if you look at advertising and the way to generate leads, there's scalable ways and non-scalable ways, right? Non-scalable ways is going to be things like SEO, high intent search ads, or high intent search leads, organic Instagram, organic Facebook. And what I mean by a not scalable is there's really nothing you can do to consistently predict success and be able to add something like fuel to the fire, make it work. Those are always better leads. So I don't know if you've ever really studied lead gen. There's two types of leads, scalable, non-scalable. And really there's high intent and there's low intent, right? So high intent leads come to Google with a need or a want. They ask for a referral. They reach out to you when they're ready from social media after you've been nurturing them from a long time, or from an email, right? Compared to low intent is when you put your ad in front of somebody who is not out there looking for it. Like somebody's on Facebook or Instagram and they're playing with their phone instead of watching their kid's ball game, because that's what they do. And I know it sounds crazy. Maybe they're on the toilet, they're in line at the grocery store, and they fill out some sort of form because they saw it and it caught their attention. it didn't start with what we call active intent. There's no need or want there. So they're usually lower quality. So when you do types of scalable advertisement where you can literally flip the light switch on and generate leads, you got to understand right out of the gate that those are going to be lower quality leads. You need more of them to have conversion, right? Compared to somebody who came to you from like a Google My Business, DM'd you on Instagram, was a referral from 2 past clients, you're going to have between 85 and 100% close rate on those, compared to somebody who maybe came from a Facebook ad. It may be 1 to 10% close rate, right? So, but when you're going into new markets, you need to have the ability to make it rain and turn it on quickly. So having some sort of Facebook ad or Google ad system works really well for that. Steph, I understand you've done that. For whatever reason, it hasn't bear fruit. I can go over that.
Low intent leads.
Well, what's interesting about those type of things, Google ads, unless you're using display, it should be high intent leads, right? Because Google search ads or search engine result page ads are actually answering when someone's typing in a search. So those should be much higher intent leads. So, but what we find sometimes is we want to treat all leads equal. Maybe you got a couple from Google, a couple from Facebook. Maybe the Facebook leads really sucked and maybe we didn't work the Google leads the way they should have been worked. Like, I think there's a big part of that. So I'd love to go over that with you all in detail if we have time, because I've been teaching this for years. But I want to kind of get past that a little bit. So referrals, you have a process, plug that in, no problem. Your organic system with Facebook, Instagram, Google My Business, it's going to be a little bit tougher. But if you had to start over today, knowing what you know, how you built that, build out some sort of process that maybe a VA can follow, or maybe a junior marketing intern. Just start looking at it. Like step 1, go to Facebook, go to search bar, find these types of groups in the geographic market and join the group. Step 2, do this. This is the type of weekly post that we're posting that's getting the most engagement. Make sure you use a question mark. Like go ahead and build out a process. There's a app. This is going to be really cool. So I don't know if you know Melissa, who's our director of operation. She just gave me access to a company called Scribe. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't.
I'm going to share my screen real quick. I know it's kind of a dangerous place to share. I'm going to go to my email. There's something called Scribe. And no joke, she sent me up on this. And the way that Scribe works is it allows you to go and create step-by-step SOPs for any assistant, and it tracks your clicker, and it does screenshots. And it's like recording a video, and it does step-by-step SOPs for pretty much anything you could ever want to do. Pretty cool, right? So you can take Scribe, it's like $20 a month, $30 a month, go create SOPs. So you have a system that's transferable to any other location or company you buy. So that's the next thing I would do. Scalable advertisement, we'll go back to that and talk about that in just a second. And then lastly, I want to talk about the sales system, because when I asked you earlier, what happens when someone fills out a funnel like a lead, you say that you kind of call them and set an appointment and you have a conversation with them, right? So you want to learn how to do that by taking yourself out of the equation as well. So you want to have a system for each level of that. So how do we respond to leads as they come in? Probably want to have that automated completely in your CRM with somebody monitoring it. And then you also want to have somebody who's setting the appointment and closing. And if it was me, and let's fast forward 2 years, let's say you have 10 cleaning companies, I'd probably have that with economies of scale right in one location. I'd probably have 1 or 2 people doing it for every single location, so you have consistency, right? One person's marketing in every market, one person's handling all the appointment settings, and then one person for the jobs that you're closing over the phone, one person's closing them. You're going to have a lot more consistency doing that, but you want to have the ability to really document what you've done and what you've learned over the years that's worked. Have you done all that? Have you already documented every single process around how you're acquiring customers, the sales process, the path to purchase? Have you done all this yet or no?
No.
Okay, so I would do that. And it's
the focus has been on a lot of other things, more operationally, so this is kind of the last piece of the puzzle.
Well, sales is the lifeblood of any business. And when you go into a new business, there's so many things to triage. You got to go and make sure company morale and culture is on point. You got to go and talk to every single one of the employees at some level, make sure that you're going to retain them so you're not starting over. You've got to try to go and reach out to the customers so no one's confused for highest retention rates. But the same time, imagine all that goes bad. And if you don't have a strong sales system that can generate business on demand with predictability, it's going to be tough to pull yourself out of a funk, right? So imagine you bought a new business and things didn't go as well as you hoped, but you have the ability to turn on the light switch and flood yourself with 25 new clients. A lot of that cash flow will help you take care of the rest, right? So as much as all the other stuff has been taking your focus, this may be the most important thing. So just some thoughts.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
No problem. So that we're going to get into ads in just a minute. I'll teach you how to like actually get ads that are working much better. The next thing I want to talk about is how can you do this without any money? It's an interesting concept, right? So if you come into a brand new business, I have some notes on this exactly, but if you go into a brand new business and you want to start raising your revenue, increasing your profit margins, and trying to get a little bit more wiggle room, say you don't have a ton of operating capital in the business that you're buying, maybe you got like a $50,000 line of credit, or maybe there's some money left in the business, but you don't really have the means to really heavily invest in ads or into growth. There's some ways to do it without any money. And I have some videos on this on my YouTube. If you're watching, you can go look at it. But really, there's only 3 ways to make more money in any business. Are you two familiar with this?
I think I know which direction you're going in.
Maybe.
I'm not going to commit to it though.
Yeah.
Pretty easy. Number 1, obviously you can acquire new customers, right? That's number 1. But number 2 and number 3 is what you should do first every time. Number 2 is you can increase the amount of money each customer pays you each transaction. So you can raise the amount of average transaction value. And then the other one's increasing your frequency of purchase. So you can increase how often your customers do business with you, right? So without having to get any new customers and pay that cost of customer acquisition, you can get more money from increasing customer lifetime value and average transaction value. And then the second thing is you can get people to pay more money more often, right? So whenever I jump into a new business, I'm looking at the overall customer experience. So I think customer experience design is huge. One other thing, I hate to put more work on your plate, but I would go into your existing companies now and I would map out the entire customer experience. And I put a process around. One of the things with customer experience is customer experience can drive growth in your business like nothing else, even better than new customer acquisition, because retention is so much cheaper for you than having to acquire a new customer.
Right.
As well as your customer experience, there is a direct correlation with the number of referrals that they want to give you, right? So with your customer experience, one of the things to do when you're documenting is also talk about how you want the customer to feel at each interaction. Right. So during the sales process, how do you want that to go? How do you want them to feel? What do you want them to say to you? Like, I want to do such a good job that I want them to literally comment on it, how good it was. Right. So process, design that entire thing out. What does that perfect customer experience look like? So I'm sure each of you in the last 6 months or so have had one new client come on and you're like, wow, that was textbook. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Right. Document that completely. Because as you go into a new business, sometimes you, just like flipping a house, you go into a house, you bought it, maybe sight unseen, you go in and you start seeing all these things that you're going to have to really react to quickly. And it's kind of a pain in the ass, right? In a new business, sometimes, no matter how much due diligence you do, you also see that. And you can never say that I'm sure they're doing a great job at that. You need to be prepared to plug in your system. So I would have my complete customer experience system ready to roll. If you look at the biggest franchise companies in the US, and the biggest chains in the US, where you literally walk in it, like maybe a retail store, and it's exactly the same as it was 200 miles ago when you stopped in, like that's what you're going for. And that's where you can really be scaled. Even if you're buying a business and you're keeping its identity, you're not changing the name of it, you can still mimic the customer experience because you have a proven system that works. So a lot of this has nothing to do with customer acquisition on the customer experience side, but instead, if you really focus on customer experience, and then you also build in your referral system into the customer experience, right? Here's exactly when we ask for referrals. Here's how we ask for referrals. That can be a really big part of it too, because if you enhance the customer experience, referrals come easier. So that's one of the things I'd like to think about as well. I'm trying to stay organized. Do you all do any type of guerrilla marketing right now? Are you familiar with the term?
Yeah, I've never heard that term before.
So there's,
I have recently started looking into like bandit signs and things of that nature. I don't know
Okay.
how that ties into where you were going with that, but
So you ever met anybody who is a college graduate and you're like, oh, what'd you do in college? Like, oh, I was a marketing major, right? And sometimes it's like, what does that even mean? Or you meet somebody and they're like, well, I do marketing. I don't even know what that means. It's such a broad term. So there's different types of marketing. There's guerrilla marketing. There's digital marketing. There's B2B marketing. There's all these different types. So guerrilla marketing is more kind of like guerrilla warfare in the trenches, people who are going out and canvassing, people who are using a lot of older school traditional tactics that still work, people who go and join a B&I group and are focused on building a giant referral network, right? It's a way they're marketing themselves without having to leverage technology, right? So in this type of business, if you can create a process around how you would plug into any other company you buy, new company, new location, whatever, here's our guerrilla marketing strategy. Those can be really effective. And what's cool about those is usually you can find somebody who's already doing this for another company and poach them, right? Any B&I group, have you ever been to a B&I group?
I have.
Oh yeah.
Yep. We both do some of these tactics that you're talking about. Just
so that's guerrilla marketing. So one more thing, process this, like go and figure out exactly what you do. So if I was having to start over today, knowing everything I know now, 5 years ago, I could go back in time. I would have greatly accelerated the speed of my company's growth by using this process. Here's how I do referrals. Here's how I would create an organic social media funnel that delivers me high quality, high intent leads consistently. Here's how I would do things outside of digital marketing, leveraging either a salesperson or an in-house marketing person, and put them to work going to B&I and start canvassing businesses. All right. You want to be able to create that package that can be deployed in the new companies you buy. Does that make sense?
Yes.
This may not be the direction you were hoping. You may have been hoping I was just going to give you some tactics or something, but that's what you really need to do is leverage the successes you've already had, package up your magic, your gold sprinkly dust, and then have it to the point where you can train somebody else to implement for you, right? Because what happens is, like, I'm training, I've got probably 20 to 30 people that I'm really training very closely at any given time across the companies. And my biggest focus for them is not to be better technicians, but to learn to be project managers and duplicate the success that they can do themselves through somebody else's effort, right? So same thing for you. How do we package up your magic dust and say, here's my system, step 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to get new referrals. We're going to build an organic social media system to get as many leads as we possibly can. We're going to build a paid ad strategy so we can add fuel to the fire immediately if we need to. And this is how we're going to do our guerrilla marketing, which is our boots on the ground marketing that can be deployed in any market, right? You need to build that all out. And that way you're really stacking the deck in your favor. So post acquisition, how do you grow a business? You plug in your system. That's the key. And you may be lacking in some of it, right? So neither one of you have really successfully done the paid ad strategy. And one of the things that we get stuck on sometimes is we try to figure things out on our own. You may find that there's a company out there that will do these ads for you who are already honed in, who are already amazing, and that it's better just to pay them $1,500 to $2,000 because your ROI is so high when you bring on a new client. Even if they bring you 5 new clients a month, you're still making money, right? So maybe outsource that, and then you don't have to worry about that. And there's lots of those companies out there, right? You happen to be
talking. When outsourcing, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just thinking, when you outsource and you hire that person, I guess because I'm going to speak for myself and not just Christina, but I think that I'm I'm ignorant when it comes to some of this stuff, and B, I don't really have as much of an interest in it. So the two in conjunction with each other work against me. Understood. So if I'm looking to bring somebody in, how do we ensure that they're the right person who has this track record that we need in order to perform?
Perfect. I have YouTube videos on this as well.
Okay.
If you're watching this, you don't have to, I'll explain it now, but go watch those YouTube videos. So in a past life, for 5 years, I was part owner of a medical marketing company where we worked for plastic surgeons, med spas, ophthalmologists, cosmetic dermatology, chiropractors, regenerative medicine doctors. And they would not hire us like as part of their team, but we would be their marketing company that handled all their marketing. We had a predictable track record. We can predict success every single time. We had a system, we had processes, we had a big team. You can hand it off to us and we would run with it, right? So there are companies like that in your space, 100%, who do paid ads, who say, yes,
Right.
we generate cleaning company leads. We have a system. We give you the CRM. We handle all the advertisement. We handle all the ad creative, the videos, the copy. We already have all these things that already work and that are winners. There's no reason for you to have to recreate the wheel. And they usually have pretty good pricing. So there's a lot of different ways to find those type of companies, but really usually just Google searches and asking for referrals is the best way to do it. Yeah. But there's also several different ways to look at marketing companies. So marketing companies have different specialties. So you may find a marketing company that specializes in the Facebook ads and really some of that organic Facebook stuff that you're already doing. That may be a different agency compared to what they call PPC agencies, pay-per-click, Google ads. There's going to be another agency that's really, really good at Google ads for home services and business-to-business services companies on acquiring customers. There may be another marketing company that specializes in LinkedIn inboxing campaigns where they generate hot sales leads for telephone salespeople for exactly this, and they know how to get directly to decision makers. There may be another company that specializes in all of it together, as well as they give you a website and they handle all your SEO optimization and maintenance to try to get you more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go to another company where they're really focused on something called rank and rent or local SEO, where they're Google My Business masters, and they'll go literally hack it and make sure that almost all of the high organic phone calls are going directly to you, right? So part of it is you can't hire all of them, right? So trying to understand which one's going to get you the highest quality intent leads or the highest close rate, or what's going to give you the strongest ROI overall. Facebook ads are tough because most of the time, and I'll probably be real with you, neither one of your companies is set up correctly at the moment to take on enough Facebook ad leads to make it worth your while. Because if you're converting at 1 to 10%, unless you have a salesperson, a setting team, a really good automated CRM system where you're able to pump 100 leads through it, only engage with the ones that are actually engaging with you, and then know exactly how to like talk to somebody who's from a Facebook ad where they don't already know, like, and trust you. They don't wake up that morning and say, wow, I need to go find someone to clean my business, right? How do you convert them specifically? Probably is not your best bet. Google ads, things like that, Google My Business leads are going to be much stronger because they already started with that active intent. So I would start with finding like a PPC agency that can do it, or I'd find like a local SEO marketer. I'm going to connect you with some people. Either way, crazy as it sounds, small world, I am part owner of a mastermind company where we work with nothing but local SEO and rank and rent, no joke, and white PPC marketing agencies. It's called Rank Masters. So that's actually a company, and I don't push that to anybody, but I will give you a warm referral to somebody in there that would specialize in your niche, because each one of them specializes in something different. Somebody specializes in spray foam insulation, somebody else is concrete, somebody else is was it not dog grooming, but dog training, real expensive stuff. Somebody else is with roofing, somebody else is with like landscaping. So I'll find who's really, really good with commercial cleaning, and I'll just make you a warm intro. And a lot of times
residential.
What's up? And residential. But either way,
residential.
What's cool about those type of people, you can either work with them at a pretty low cost per month, and they'll start dominating your local areas for you. And you can also work with them sometimes where they just bring you leads and then you pay them for the leads as they come in, which allows you to scale your ad budget a lot better. Yeah, so that's what I would do. But overall, we're taking on a new company. An ideal scenario, utopia, is I already have a system that I'm predicting success. If I plug my system into this new company, it's going to thrive. So while you're still going through all these acquisition options, I would focus on that. Even for a couple hours a week, go in, describe, and say, all right, now it's time for me to document my entire system on how I do referrals, how I do here, and have them all in a consistent SOP style. And then that's worth a lot of money as well to the right hands, right?
And when we are at the point where we're plugging and playing this into our new business, what kind of expectation is reasonable for us to have as far as turnaround? 30 days, 90 days?
Yeah, well, depending on the deal, the seller transition period is kind of different everywhere. The worst thing you can do is jump in and just start changing everything. What I do when I buy a business is I have realistic expectations up front of what kind of effort it's going to take for me. Do I need to hop in and spend, a month in this business, make sure everything's transferring over, get all done with the cash transfer and like reconciling after the expenses are not blended anymore. The employees feel good, the morale is high, they're on mission, the customers are good, and then I have my marketing plan kind of post that. I don't try to rock the boat right away. If you have a system that was built not around you having to implement it, it's a lot easier, because once you get in there and identify during the transition period who are your strong players, who do you have on the field, and who can you put in what role, who has bandwidth to expand or wants to help more.
Right.
A lot of times, if you have a good system that can be implemented by anybody who's got a pretty high intelligence level, you can hand them that system and say, okay, here's what I want you to do one by one. Don't have them do all four at once, but we're going to start with referrals, and here's my system. We're going to go through it together. I need you to go out and implement this system. Right. So that's step one. Step two, but I think it depends on the business, right? You may see that the way they grow right now is all referrals. You may want to go in and pick apart their system and say, wow, maybe I can adopt some of these things. And you may get in there and say, wow, it looks like we have a leaky bucket. We're having terrible problems with retention. Go and triage that, fix the retention issue, and at the same time, start another system that's going to take a long time, right? So if you're going to eat dinner at 6 o'clock, is that what time you eat?
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
You're going to cook in a crock pot tonight. What time do you start?
12
noon. So if you have something that's going to be a slow burn, that's going to take a while, like the Facebook, Instagram, and Google My Business organic strategy, go ahead and start that, because it's going to take a while to catch up. You don't want to wait to start that, right? So go ahead and start that crock pot. Go ahead and start patching up that leaky bucket so you're not losing customers, and then look at what can we do now to inject more clients and more cash in the business. That's where you can deploy a resource. Like I told you earlier, my companies, I already have all my resources. I've got my sales teams, I've got my marketers, I've got my ops people, I've got my SOP masters, and I can just deploy them in any business that we buy, right? So for you want to have those marketing companies that you're already have an established relationship with that are crushing it for you, and say, okay, John, over XYZ Cleaning Marketing, about to acquire this new business. Here's the landscape. They're doing well here, here, and here. They have this much market share. There's a lot of demand in the area. When I say go, I want you to launch our system that we're doing here for this business, and just have that ready to go. But you also have to have your sales system as well, right? Because if I flood this new business with leads and I don't have a way to translate those leads into customers, it's just wasting money, right? So maybe in my own business, at some point, I kind of shed the responsibility of talking to leads and converting them into appointments and sales, give that to somebody else. And if they have the bandwidth, tell them, even from remotely, if they can do it over the phone, I'm about to start giving you leads for this next location, and then you can build a team. Or you can have a system that can be implemented in-house with an existing employee. So there's all kinds of different ways to do it. If you're buying an $800,000 business, probably a different landscape with your teammates compared to a $5.8 million business, which is what you're looking at. Well, very different. You may have tons of human capital. You may have tons and tons of people who are extremely talented. You may find the best salesperson you've ever had who's doing all the conversions over the phone. You may be able to have that person work for all of your locations, and you found them from this new acquisition, right? So there's not a right or wrong way to do any of it. I'm just trying to give you some broad perspective.
Yeah, lots of great ideas. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I guess it definitely makes sense. Start with what you have, expand on that, and then just take it out of one and put it in the other.
Yeah, there's no reason to start from scratch. And part of the whole psychology around what we're doing in acquisitions, the way we teach it, is being a safe pair of hands for the business that you're about to take over is a big part of it, right? Are you a better pair of safe pair of hands if you say, I already have all these systems that are crushing it, and all I'm going to do is literally duplicate my success and bring in the best of what I'm doing, take the best of what you're doing, blend them together, and then grow even more? Like, you're even safer of a pair of hands if they can feel confident in that, right? So like one of the companies that we're looking at right now, of many, I can easily take all of my resources, all my marketers, my people, my process people, my salespeople, my setters, my ad strategies. I could literally plug them in this business and triple it in less than 3 months easily. And they see that and they're like, wow, my business deserves that. So I think you're so much more well positioned when you have the ability to do that. So part of what I think for your post acquisition strategy is really just going back to your own businesses and just really get your stuff together and create ironclad processes.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yep. And then
That's
hiring for these roles is really easy, because if you have great training, you're hiring for effort and attitude, and then you're hiring certain DISC profiles per role, which we can talk about that another day. But hiring becomes really easy. If you can plug somebody into an amazing system, you don't have to hire someone who's the most skilled person in the world, and your labor costs can be lower.
And I think we do a lot of that as far as actual labor. You know, the labor portion of it can be taught. We hire based on core values and, like you said, attitude. And
Yep. So. But when you get into some of the non-tangible type positions where it's not as easy to say, okay, you're going to clean like this, you're going to clean in this order, you're going to perform, but instead it's somebody who's more in a rainmaker type role, very performance-driven role. People who go into performance-driven roles have to feel secure and feel like they're set up for success. Otherwise, they get nervous and they don't perform well, right? Especially when you're asking someone to be working on all commission, they've got it. They're taking more risk on than you are, right? So having all these things set in stone and say, this is predictable success based off of all the stuff I've ever done. Yeah. So that's where I think it's more important to have that. Just as important. I wouldn't say more important. Yeah. Okay. But that's the secret. That's the secret. For me, if you have a great customer experience and you can generate prospects on demand, you can really have a business that's very hard to fail, right? Very hard to fail. You can have terrible conversion rates on your leads to sale, but if you have thousands of leads, it's almost impossible to fail, right? And if you're getting people based off the value and not racing someone else to go out of business by going on sale all the time, then it's much easier to stay afloat, right? So, So I just threw a lot at you. May not be exactly what you were hoping for when you came on, but what are your thoughts? What questions do you have? Any clarifying questions?
I think I'm relieved to know that it's not really going to be as hard as I was imagining it to be.
Anticipating.
Just already take the system that I have, tweak it, fine tune it a little bit, get some SOPs laid out. So we can hand those over and people can implement them.
Build it in a way where it's made to train a new employee how to do it and get the same result that you would get if you did it yourself. That's the key.
Right.
That's the key. Right?
Or better results.
Or better. Yeah, because there are people that you're going to hire that are better than you, especially because they've been doing it. Yeah, 100%.
Which is great. I mean, that's why we're hiring them, right?
100%.
Yeah.
The other big takeaway is got to be redundancy, right? Even when you're building into a new company, you always want to have multiple ways to make money. You want to have to have multiple sales channels, multiple profit centers, multiple lead generation channels. Like you want to be able to make money in lots of different ways, no matter what. And everything contributes a little bit to the overall revenue pot. It allows you to see your growth go exponential, because so many people put all their eggs in one basket. And even not as bad as getting your entire sales and marketing attribution channels like taken away from you, like a Facebook ad account being shut down. But what sucks even worse is when you reach the top of that mountain and you hit a plateau and you can't get it any higher than you can get it, right? So when I've been teaching sales for a long time. I've been teaching kind of outside sales, self-contractor type sales. And we have this system where we talk about how you need to have 13 different ways to win, 13 different lead channels. So I would be looking at that in your own business too, and kind of building out a framework. I can actually show you some cool stuff on that if you'd like, but
cool.
Yeah.
Any more questions for me before I jump in and start spreadsheeting you guys? I'm gonna show you some cool
Yeah. You know, it took both of us about a week to like digest all the information you gave us when we were in Las Vegas. So
I blacked out. I don't even know what I said. So that's good. I didn't really black out, but yeah, that was a fun mastermind. For anybody watching, we We had a Las Vegas meetup. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So I'm going to get a spreadsheet here together. We're going to share my screen. I'm going to show you something cool. And I think this will really help you as well. When you create a plan of attack, I love the idea of what I said to you a minute ago is, imagine you could start over today, go back in time 5 years ago, but you know everything you know right now. What would you do? Right? You almost like have a crystal ball. You have all the wisdom and experience of the time in the business to be able to start over and do it again. And that's kind of the magic of acquiring a new business from somebody else, or even building a business from scratch. If that's the most appropriate thing to do, is you have all that wisdom and experience, and you can literally go back in time and say, okay, this is how I would do it. And I hope this would come into play. I'm going to share my screen in just a second here. And I'm going to show you an exercise that we used to do with our real estate agents. And I've done this many, many times with proteges as well. So let me share my screen. We call this the 7 ways to win. Can you see a spreadsheet? It's kind of a blank spreadsheet.
Yes.
Okay. So the 7 ways to win, as well as we do activities on what to do every day, week, and month to be able to get there, right? So what the concept comes from is, whenever you're in charge of bringing in your own customers, you are the person who's doing the prospecting, or if you're teaching a system of prospecting to somebody else who works for you, you want to create a business that's got enough redundancy to survive any type of market shift you could throw at it. Is you want to have 7 different ways to win, 7 different ways to acquire customers, right? So I would start with some of the guerrilla tactics. I would go through all the things we talked about. So we have BNI and we have referral networking, right? And when you go into a new location, you go into a new business that you're acquiring, you're going to want to deploy all of these, not just one. Okay. You also have your Facebook organic, we'll just call it Facebook IG organic strategy. You also want to have your paid ads. You also want to have local SEO and Google My Business marketing specifically. We want to have a customer or client referral system. We also want to have, let me keep looking at the different things we talked about. What else are you currently doing to get customers besides what we have up here?
That's the extent of mine.
We've done door hangers. We've done,
okay. What else?
Yep. Like coffee shop, like really, really low end things from the perspective of not spending a lot of money. And
okay. What else?
The things that what you're kind of talking about is what has been successful, short of the paid ads.
Short of paid ads. So paid ads is a tough one. If it was me and I had to say, all right, I need to have a couple more different ways to make money, I would have an outside salesperson. And let's talk about that specifically, or an outside sales and marketing person.
Okay.
And you could technically go as many as you want. We could go tons of different things. You may have your sphere of influence. Familiar with that term?
People in our network.
Yeah, well, your personal network. That could be your kids' parents, your kids' friends' parents. It could be people that you know from the businesses that you are a local patron of consistently. Like there's all types of different ways to look at that. Being somebody who owned a real estate team for a long time, and I was also like a national trainer in real estate, trained all over the country, CE instructor for 7 years. Real estate agents have a 96% attrition rate. Most of them fail within the first 2 years. And the one thing that keeps a real estate agent in business is the fact that they can acquire customers and acquire new clients on a regular basis. So this is an exercise we used to do with all of real estate agents. Before they would come in, we'd say, all right, we need to figure out all the different ways that you're going to get prospects. And then we also talk about conversion rate. And then we also talk about the number of new clients, and we could say per time period, let's say per year, right? So if I was doing a business plan with you right now and I said, okay, for one of your current businesses, how many new clients do you need to acquire per year? Let's say if we're just talking about commercial or just residential, how many would that be? Can you give me an answer?
Residential would probably be about
35 to 50
per year.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll say for residential clients per year, we need to do 50. Okay. That's the goal, is we want to do 50. So one of the ways you can do a prospecting business plan is to do it right here. We want to have each one of these produce a certain number of residential clients for us per year. So we have total number of leads, and then you have your conversion rate, and then you have your total number of clients, right? So we know that some of our lead sources have higher conversion rates than others, correct? We already talked about this. If someone hands you a referral, you should close them between 75 and 100%, right? 3 out of 4 people who come with you. And why is a referral so special? It's a know, like, and trust transfer. When someone says, hey, so-and-so says you're the best, they're not going to have to worry about that know, like, and trust like continuum. They already trust you, right? Let's talk about a BNI or a referral network, like a BNI referral. What kind of conversion rate? If you get 10 BNI referral leads, how many of them close?
I would say 9.
So we're at a 90% conversion rate. Beautiful. What else? So for Facebook organic, someone DMs you, someone sees one of your posts, you've been just gently nurturing them for a long time. You get 10 leads from those Facebook, Instagram organic. How many of those people actually convert?
1 or 2, maybe.
1 to 2. So this is a very low. Let's just go 1 person. So that's 10%. Talk about paid ads. So Steph, you've been doing paid ads. If you get 100 leads, how many of them have you been able to convert into clients?
Have I been able to do, or should I be able to do?
How many have you done?
My conversion rate on paid ads was like 40%.
That's huge. 40?
Oh.
That's like 10 times more than it should be if it was Facebook, and probably about on par for Google.
Oh, okay.
That's fantastic. So that's a great thing. Let's break these into 2 things. Let's say Facebook ads, because Google ads have active intent, remember? So let's say you were able to convert 40% of the lead. That's incredible, by the way. That's not bad. You should.
I thought it was terrible.
No. If I found you a special Coke machine and you could put a $10 bill in it and somehow it pops out a $40 bill, would you do that all day?
Every day.
All day. That's what you just did, right? If the numbers work, like, what's your cost per lead on that?
I haven't looked at it in a while. It's been a while since I was paying for them.
Is it $50?
So I'm going to have to definitely say, I think it was $57.
$57 though. I mean, look at that. If you want to calculate, you spent $570 in leads, over 10 leads, 4 of them converted. Those 4 leads, each one of them in their first 3 months is worth $1,200 to you, $1,800 to you. How much are they worth to you?
About $1,200.
Yeah, I'm just making these numbers up. They're really close though. Yeah. So you spent $570 on ads, and the first 3 months returned $3,600 or $4,800. Like, I would be doing that until my fingers broke. Yeah, so that's a wonderful strategy. Keep going.
Okay.
Facebook ads, you're probably looking more like 10%. Local SEO, or your Google My Business. So when you get a lead from Google My Business, Christina, how many of those close?
Maybe 25 to 30%. Maybe.
Not bad. And how fast do you respond to them?
Almost immediately, like within the same day, I'll respond to them.
What kind of questions are they asking?
I have the request a quote online, and so they can go ahead and already ask me specific questions. So I already know what they're looking for. So by the time I contact them, I already have an idea and can give them a price if that's what they're looking for, and then set them up for a virtual walkthrough. So it's pretty simple.
So with that being said, I mean, still 25 to me is a little lower than it should be, but we're still working on it. I was looking at my calendar. I do have a meeting coming up here shortly, but we're going to keep rolling. Back 10 minutes, please. Okay, so let's keep going. So next, door hangers, promotional items, probably like 1% if you put a whole bunch of it out there. If you did hire an outside marketing and salesperson, you taught them how to cold call as well as canvas businesses and do all those things, even if they're at maybe a 3 to 5%, conversion rate, that's fine. And then when you have somebody that you know, church, ball games, your kids, friends, parents, somebody that you went to high school with, whatever, like what's the conversion rate there if they find out that you're doing this and they call you? Probably pretty high, right?
Right.
Okay. So looking at even, let's just say 70%. So this is your marketing and sales business plan. This is what we used to do with our real estate agents. It works really, really well for anybody, right? So if we know that we want to convert and have a certain number of clients contribute to this 50, we can literally go in and figure out how many clients we want to get over an entire year for each one of these lead sources, right? So from BNI and referral, if you went and opened and got a new location because you bought a company and you're in their area and you put somebody in, taught them what to do in BNI, and they went out and they were able to give you a total of, I think it's probably realistic to get about 25 to 30 referrals over a year. That's probably even a little bit low if they really plug in and they're in a good group, right? So 30 for referrals right there, what is that, 27 sales? Like with one lead source, you could absolutely crush it. That's probably going to be your outside sales and marketing person. So we can even delete that and just say, this is kind of that sales and marketing person right there. Even if they have a terrible year, they're terrible at the elevator pitch, they don't even know how to really speak correctly, they still can get 10 referrals over a year and close them if you have a good sales system, right? Facebook organic, let's say in a new place that you just purchased this business, you don't have any of these, referral relationships you have on Facebook, you're not in all these groups, but over time, like that crockpot analogy, it's going to take some time, but over the first year, maybe you can get 10. Well, that's one more customer right there, right? Over a whole year of doing Facebook ads, let's say you're only doing maybe $300 a month and it's more like omnipresent branding ads rather than trying to get conversions, but you're really getting your name out there and you're driving more traffic indirectly to Google My Business and to your website. You can still get a 3 to 4 different customers per year doing that. That's not a lot of money to spend at like $200 or $300 a month to do that. And I can show you that as well. Okay. Google ads, let's say, wow, this magic soda machine keeps giving me all this money back. So I'm going to kind of explore that and scale that a little bit more. Let's say you're spending maybe $1,000 a month, and you get even $57, 20 leads a month right there. That's 240 leads a year at 40%. Like you're starting to crush this if you can start doing these type of numbers. So without having to go through this entire thing, I just want to kind of help you understand how I would break it down and say, okay, I definitely want to get at least 20 referrals this year, which is going to result 15 new clients. I'm going to put out, and you may even say, hey, this is a pain in the ass and it's not worth my time because I'm doing so well over here. And you can replace this with something else if it's got a low conversion rate. Sphere of influence may only get 5 to 7 total opportunities a year, but it still results in 3 clients, right? You can start to build this out and see that you can get quite a few new clients from each one of these strategies. What is this number? I can't think today, right? So if you add all those up together, you're at 105 new clients. So
wow.
There's all types of ways to do it. You can be as realistic and don't be optimistic here, but say even if you only spent $1,000 a month for 3 months of the year and you end up with 60 leads, close 40% of them, what is that number? 26? 24. I mean, there's all types of ways to look at this, still get you 69 clients. So when I'm taking over a new business, when I'm teaching somebody, hey, it's time to go, you only eat what you kill. You got to go make your own money. You got to go make your own prospects. We're going to say, hey, we're going to find 7 different ways to win. We're going to talk about daily activities. We're going to talk about weekly activities. And we're going to talk about monthly activities. And then we're also going to say, how much daily, weekly, and monthly for the number of leads. Like if you break this into how many leads per month, it's like less than 1 lead a month. It's one lead every 30 days, right? So it's really obtainable when you start looking at it. Like what do you do daily, weekly, and monthly activity wise to make sure you can get at least 10 referrals from your BNI? Show up and ask, or actually in BNI, teach how to refer, right? What's next? Facebook organic. What you're going to do daily is probably every other day do a post on IG and on Facebook. And then weekly or every month you want to join a new group. And then every week post in the Facebook groups, right? That's not too hard. Next, Facebook ads. You need to find an agency. Specializes. Right? Google Ads, same thing. Find an agency who specializes in this. Local SEO.
Mm-hmm.
You need to do a post once a week. Find an agency who specializes in this and optimization. I don't even know if I spelled that right, but I don't care. Client referral system. You need to what? Ask for
the referral.
Right? You know, that's so without beating a dead horse, you build it out and say, I got 7 different ways to win or more. I know what I need to do daily, weekly, and monthly. Once you have this built out, you can literally plug this in any business that you buy. This works exactly the same way in Dealmaker as it works in my Ninja Warrior gym, as it works in my bowling alley. It's the exact same system every single time. For my bowling alley, we have our Facebook ads. We do fundraisers with schools. We do birthday party businesses. We have people out there that are incentivized who work there to actually sell birthday parties. We have people that come in because of some sort of radio special we do. We have people handing out business cards at all the restaurants. We're sponsoring signs on all the middle schools, all the gyms, all the fences in the car lines. Like we have 7 ways to win, right? The bigger the business, in my opinion, the more ways to win you need. So I think this kind of brings me to the end of my hour. I do have a big meeting I've got to jump in here in just a second. So I just appreciate you being on here with me and trusting me to kind of talk with you through all this type of stuff. I don't take that lightly, and I appreciate it.
This was great.
I definitely
Really
appreciate it. Yeah.
My pleasure. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to talk about in detail when we hop on like this. I just like to triage, let it be organic. Surges of Income podcast. Anybody watching, thanks for tuning in. I would encourage you to go back and watch the other episodes if you haven't already seen them. Some of them we're talking about B2B, some we're talking about B2C businesses, some we're talking about real estate marketing, opening up new franchises and how to staff that correctly, triaging a company you just bought, like a cleaning company in episode 1, where we talk about step-by-step exactly what to do to get the company on track and make it so you don't have to operate it. Like we have all this stuff we talk about on the Surges of Income podcast. Today, we talked about what do we do to get ready to buy a business in the same lane we're already in. And then the answer was what? Create systems and processes, use that Scribe software, create a business plan around 7 ways to win, understand your conversion rates for each lead source. How many leads do I need? How many conversions is that going to give me? And then how can I duplicate and replicate the success that I get when I do it myself through somebody else? And then the more we're prepared, especially when we're staying in our lane, like cleaning companies, the safer of a pair of hands we are for the people that we're buying businesses from.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yes.
My pleasure. Need to drink some water. There's a lot of talking. Well, thanks for being on. Catch you all on the next Protege call or next time we have a chat. I really appreciate your time today. And anybody watching, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions about what we're doing in business acquisitions, love to have a chat with you about that as well. The mission here is just to help as many people as we can really become wealthy and make a lot of money. These businesses, when you buy them, if you get them running like a top, like really, really well, you can start producing business distributions and profit distributions every quarter, and they'll start to stack. Like I have 12 companies. Most of them pay me quarterly distributions, and I take all of it and throw it straight into real estate. My net worth just continues to go like this. And that's why we are doing this podcast. That's why I focus on real estate, business acquisitions, business growth, and events and launches. Like that's the exact reason I do everything I do. And I'm really excited to have the chance to teach it to all these people. So really an honor.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.